So, the Bleed Whirlwind Barb. Let's first take a look at the skill distribution. Deep Wounds is going to be maxed, and Grim Ward is going to be maxed for the synergy, and then you have 1 point in each of the relevant passives. On top of that, I put 10 points in Battle Command for the plus to all skills. Later on you would want it maxed, but this is pretty early on without a lot of plus skills, so I've settled for 10 points. In the combat skills tree, I've maxed Frenzy. You want the level 26 Frenzy with your Battle Command buff for the 40% splash radius increase. And then I've dumped the remaining points into Whirlwind. As for the gear, you want to Razor's Edge. Ideally, of course, you want Enhanced Damage Slam or 3-Socket Slam, which should be pretty cheap, but let's say on day 1 those aren't available. You just get any you can get. Here I've socketed them with random 40 ED Jewel. And that's already 60% open wounds. Paired with your D1 skill, you're at 83%, and the goal is to hit 100% open wounds, which you achieve with the Dragul's Grasp, which is also pretty mandatory. On top of that, most of your gear is dedicated to fixing the physical damage reduction. Here I'm using String of Ears, Leviathan, and Halberds. Halberds is really difficult to avoid because it just does way too much for you. Like the +4 or +5 deep wounds, a bunch of attack rating, which you really need because you're using mastery skillers, and obviously battle orders, physical damage reduction. It's basically way too much in one slot to give up. And for the rest of the gear, Core Riders, decent damage. Note, you don't really need them in this setup to hit 100% open wounds, but it's more damage, more bleed damage particularly, so it's the best. But if you can't get one, you can use like rare resistance boots or war travelers maybe. For the rings, I really want Raven Frost. Canopy Frozen is always nice, but you also really need the attack rating. Here I'm using Saracens for the amulet. You could use a rare amulet with similar type of stats, but since you're using Leviathan and Halberds, you really need the resistances from the slot. As you can see, I'm just barely capped, and that's with an Omrune socketed in both chest and helm. As for the second ring slot, I've chosen Nagelring here because your magic find is going to be very low otherwise. Now you might have to use a rare here. You don't have any mana leech, so if you don't have a mana leech corruption, you're basically forced to have a mana leech ring, or you have to socket a perfect skull in your weapon, which means you lose a bit of damage. So that's ideally something you want to avoid, but it could be worth just because your magic find is so low. You only have a Geats basically. Now for the inventory, you definitely need a full set of mastery skillers. These are obviously better than you'd have if you just have plain ones on day 1. But those are very cheap, typically easily bought with a couple of Wellstone shards. Ideally you want a torch, but you can obviously start without a torch. It's just that the risk situation is pretty tight mostly. You can solve it with the small charms, but you really want a torch because it offers a lot, especially in terms of getting your frenzy to a level 26 as well. Now as for the mercenary, you would ideally want to use a Vigor Rogue. If you don't have all the PDR, you might have to start off the Act 2 mercenary using Defiance Aura, but you want to use a Vigor Rogue as soon as possible. And in this case, let's say you don't really have any gear for her, you might want to try to get the Witchfall String just for the Amplify against the map bosses, but otherwise it's just whatever PDR and resistance gear you can find. Ideally you get her a pair of Lava Gout because the enchant helps your attack rating, which is pretty low on this build. Your hit chance will not look great in maps, but the hit chance doesn't take into account the minus target defense on the weapon, so it's not as bad as it might look. Like this should already be a pretty decent hit chance with the minus target defense in maps. Obviously maps can have enhanced defense, and that is another story. Ideally you want a Faith Rogue, Rune Word for your Rogue as soon as possible to help with the attack rating and a bit of damage. Now as for maps, Horazon is where you really want to live. It's the best map for this build and arguably the best map in the game because it has 2 ghost types. The narrow lanes really suit the Whirlwind playstyle. You should be able to blast this in under 10 minutes. Just make sure you keep your frenzy stacks recharged at all times.